Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds.
This is Judge Joe Brown, and it saddens me greatly that Kevin Samuels has left us so early in his life, and I extend my condolences to family, friends, and associates. I mark myself privileged to have had the opportunity to have interviewed him at some length. While some have forgotten that it was once a given that wrong and inappropriate conduct would be chastised, Kevin Samuels did not, and he did that when it was necessary, yet he encouraged people when it was helpful and appropriate to do so. Our pulpit preachers once did this, but it seems the art of denouncing sin and wrongdoing has been forgotten. It develops that we have gotten into a mindset where anything that might be imagined, even in a fever dream or while under the influence of something, has become appropriate. That is not something that should be the case, because that pathway leads to ruination and destruction. The deceased was a voice in the wilderness of sinfulness and wrong-headedness. He was a guiding light to mark the perils of licentiousness. We need more like him. We must hope that his clarion calls for decency, accountability, morality, ethics, duty, honor, purpose, and responsibility echo far into the future. Samuels constantly reminded us that it is never inappropriate, even if sometimes impolitic or unpopular, to correct incorrectness and demand behavior that does not work as an impediment to dignity, order, and public peace. We owe a debt of gratitude to this man. We and our posterity both needed and still need to hear his words of guidance and propriety. Thank you, Brother Samuels, for marking the trail toward redemption and success. Rest in power and peace, sir.
Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Dennis Sperling, and I'm back. Shout out to Judge Joe Brown. I asked him to, as a personal favor, to provide a good word to for Kevin Samuels Memorial. As you guys know, and I'm smiling because it brings me relief to say this, but Kevin's mom didn't know how famous he was. And although she might not recognize some of the YouTubers and the stars that the young stars that we have now who knew and loved Kevin, she will know Judge Joe Brown. So the idea that her son was respected by Joe Brown, Judge Joe Brown, I think is going to make her feel good. And so, I wanted to make sure that I got him. So I reached out to Judge Joe Brown, and he graciously did that for me. And shout out to Joe Brown. And something I found out, he and I grew up in the same neighborhood in Los Angeles, in South Central LA. I didn't know that he grew up basically right across Slauson Avenue on Buttlong. When I lived on he lived on the north side of Buttlong. I lived on the south side. Of course, there was decades apart, and he graduated law school from UCLA with my father, they knew each other back in law school. So, and I didn't know that. It's a small world. But I graciously appreciate and humbly appreciate Judge Joe Brown taking time out to leave that message. And I know Miss Beverly will definitely appreciate that, and I think you all appreciate that. So it shows that number one, Kevin Samuel was known and respected by respectable men, which is very important, and it goes to our discussion tonight. Now, here's the thing. I had a wonderful conversation today with Willie D and Scarface on their Ghetto Boys podcast. Now, I've been very hesitant to give any interviews other than to Isaiah Carey because, people will confuse the fact that I am the family spokesperson with something the family might have said. The family is specifically Miss Beverly and Kevin's daughter have been silent. They don't have anything to say, and I like it like that. Things are beginning to quiet down. They're beginning to simmer down. We're getting less crazies out there. We got the crazies are attacking me. Apparently, they're saying they're saying I'm at fault, for Kevin's death, and you all are wild, but that's okay. You're entitled as long as you're not harassing Miss Beverly and Kevin's daughter. Y'all can fight with me all you want. I'm built for it. I'm okay with being the bad guy. But some of these outlandish things, I'll deal with these folks in court sometime in the future. But right now, while this fire is hot, while Kevin Samuel's name is still on people's minds, what I want to do is do something that's even more important for his legacy than just preserving videos. And let me say this, I look at Kevin's videos like they're books on a shelf. How many of you all have gone over to people's houses and they have all these books on their shelf and they never actually read those books? There are so many people who've heard of Kevin Samuels, but they've never actually listened to his podcast. And if they have listened to the podcast, they're simply listening for entertainment purposes, and they're not getting the education that he's putting out there. So today, I was on Willie D and Scarface's Ghetto Boys podcast, and I was there with several women and several men from the Houston area where I live. I wasn't acting in my capacity as an attorney. I wasn't acting in my capacity because I don't represent the family. I'm just trying to draw fire, help out. That's it. I just want to make sure this woman is not being attacked anymore by the press. And so I wasn't acting as an attorney nor as a spokesperson. Rather, I was just sitting there as a friend of Kevin Samuels and a colleague of his who had the opportunity to have some conversations with him over dinner, telephone calls over the past couple of years, and working together. So I got a chance to examine the man and the human being for who he was. But I've also had the opportunity to listen to his work. And so what I determined early on in that conversation is that many of those people who were complaining about Kevin Samuel's tone, the way he said things, and they may, they have valid points. I can accept that. But the problem is they didn't actually understand some of his phraseology. Okay? So, here's the thing. We have got to begin to break down what was said. Okay? We want to be able to understand what was said. So terms like sexual marketplace value, things that he would throw out there, hypergamy, other terms like monkey branching. These are terms that are common to the Black manosphere, but in reality, the rest of the world knows nothing about them. And that's to be expected because this phraseology is relatively brand new in the big picture of things. It's unknown, right? So we have got to begin to learn this information before it's too late. Okay. One phrase that he would say often is high value man, right? And this seems to be a sticking point for so many individuals. High value man, all right? This is something that that even men are offended by. Now we see women are offended by his rating system, but a lot of men are offended by the term high value man. Specifically, a lot of men are offended by the definition of a high value man, and they gravitate to that point where we talk about the monetary aspect of it. A lot of people like to say, well, you don't have to be a high value, you don't have to be rich to be a high value man, blah, 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 blah. And they fail to see the part that, hey, it's not just about uh, being rich. That's just one component, but it is a necessary component. Now, I pointed it out on the podcast today, the Ghetto Boys podcast, that money alone was insufficient to be considered a high value man under Kevin Samuels' definition. So I noticed, and here's my observation, and many of you may see the same. I noticed that a lot of men who are offended by the definition of high value man don't fall within that definition's parameters of what a high value man should be or is. And so, and here's on the flip side, is those men who are or do fall within the parameters of a high value man and didn't realize they were high value men, oftentimes until Kevin told them and they assessed the facts of their life and were able to check all those boxes and then deem themselves high value men. What was the effect of that? Well, it definitely helped you realize your true value on the sexual marketplace value. And it was also empowering to a lot of men, myself included. So, and more importantly, it was an esteem booster because, hey, not only are you a high value man, but this is a rare commodity on the open market. That's what I learned. I think that's what a lot of folks learn. So, what we're going to do, what we're going to do is we're going to examine that. All right. Now, of course, Kevin would always use these terms, and I'm doing this as an academic exercise. Kevin used to tease me, say, "You're very academic," because that's what I do. I enjoy that. I'm very analytical with it. Um, and so I'm now trying to help keep the information, which is the key component to his legacy, relevant. And it's not going to stick with you all unless you what? Unless you know the definition. So he often said this. He said that men are the consumers of women, right? They're the consumers of the end product, which are women. Now, here's the thing: if you got these men who didn't know they were high value men, and now they know they're high value men because Kevin has told them that, then they may just start demanding more for their value. And so the women who used to be able to get by and be able to have a high value man and they were on a rating scale of a 5, 6, or 7, now these high value men are going to say, no, you got to be at least a 6, 7, 8, or maybe a 9 or a 10 if you want to be with me. Right. And so what does that do for women? It requires them to bring more value than they're accustomed to bringing to the relationship. And so that in essence is why there was a conflict, I think, right? So let's think about this. Now, how did he define high value men? What was the definition of that? What are the specific requirements in the practice of law when we're trying to develop uh, a case? We're trying to figure out, okay, the district attorney is going to do this. And I tried a couple of cases with my dad before he passed away. A couple down here in Houston, another one up in Dallas. And oftentimes the young district attorneys, and we got 3 acquittals straight in a row. My dad was an excellent criminal defense attorney. His problem, and maybe we'll talk about that another time. His problem, like Kevin's, was infrastructure. He thought he could do everything on his own. He didn't need any help. That's not what I do. I'm an infrastructure guy. I like people. I like to designate. But bottom line is, we tried 3 cases. And the one thing I noticed about the young district attorneys is the DAs, and this is the thing you got to know about district attorneys. Typically, they're young law students right out of school. They hire them right out. And so they're just learning to practice law. So they may not know the things that a more experienced trial lawyer would know. And so what I noticed was they would always have these charts with all the, and they must learn this, right? They would literally get the criminal statute and break it down point by point by point and explain to the jury, we prove this, we prove this, we prove this, we prove this, we prove that. And so, and if we proved all that, then you have to convict him. And so what did my dad do? My dad would then go up to that particular chart and he would go and stand there and say, if it was this simple, all the while turning it around, if it was this simple, we wouldn't need a trial. No, ladies and gentlemen, there's more than that. I just always thought that interesting. But for the purpose of this particular conversation, we're going to use that sort of chart and we're going to break that down. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to explain what specific requirements there were. The money component, right? And it's a consistent 6 figures over 3 years. There has to be group acceptance. There has to be you have to have a network of other high value men, and you have to have LinkedIn level, and you have to be useful to others in the groups. If you just read that, you wouldn't know what the hell that meant, right? You wouldn't know what does that mean even? Like useful to the group, LinkedIn level. And some of you get part of it, but you don't get the big picture. And that's what we're going to do tonight. So we're going to examine bit by bit from an anthropological viewpoint, which I think they're going to be doing in universities in the next 10 to 15 years. We're going to examine Kevin Samuels' definitions and his work from an anthropological viewpoint. So you guys will be ahead of time, right? And what we're doing, we're in hopes of creating a better understanding to the population. And I think it's the perfect time to do it, because otherwise this information, like so much other information that has been sent out and put out and given to us by our ancestors, it won't be picked up by the current generations, and maybe it'll get picked up by the future generations, but who knows? The thing is, it'll become irrelevant or it'll get co-opted into some other group, right? And then we'll miss out. But right now, it's ours. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start this process. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you want to speak. If you want to, I'm going to be reading comments, and I may let some folks in tonight. Kevin told me not to let people in the chat make your cam up. So that's a new rule. Guys who are not used to on my page, I used to just let guys come in. I wanted to hear what they had to say, but we got entirely too many people now. And a lot of these folks are Kevin Samuels folks, and you all are welcome. And that's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to accommodate you. Again, this is not my thing. I definitely don't do relationships, but I do law. And if his definition was a law, then this is how I would break it down. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead, first hit the KS button, because we're talking about a Kevin Samuels thing. And guys, we're going to get to our regular scheduled stuff. We're going to get back to our man stuff soon, right? I actually want to talk about this situation with Megan Thee Stallion and the young man that she alleged shot her. And apparently the medical records don't point that out. And if you guys remember, about a year ago, I said that myself. I said, this doesn't look like a bullet hole. Okay. So, we'll talk about that sometime in the very near future, but I want to get this lesson because I think this is very important. I've heard Dr. Umar Johnson take offense to the term high value man. And I think when I finish with this particular discussion, I think folks will say, you know what? Kevin Samuels had a point, and what he said was good for the Black community. That's what I think is going to happen. So let's go ahead and begin to break it down. But first, let's go ahead and hit the number 1 button. Make sure you have subscribed to the channel. Hit the thumbs up button, let's make sure we keep this going. We have 345 people in the chat room. If you appreciate this lesson, if you appreciate it, Feel free to contribute to the super chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. Oh, I don't have the super chat. I don't have the PayPal up. Okay, that's my fault. But we'll get that up real quick, and then we'll go ahead and proceed with this lesson because it's important for us to have understanding. What's the point of just simply viewing this man's body of work and you have no understanding as to what you're just looking at it for laughs? And that's exactly what Kevin Samuels didn't want you to do. He wants you to actually understand it and then incorporate this into your life. Now, I don't want to, no disrespect to, any of the people that I mentioned. I have great respect for Dr. Umar Johnson. I may disagree with him, on his philosophy on certain aspects, but he deserves respect. What we do on this page is we're very respectful to people. All right, that's what we do, but efficient. Now, sometimes, when I'm in the defense of my friends, and you guys have seen me in, raw emotion recently, because of course, that it was necessary. But for the most part, we're very respectful. So let's talk about the first aspect, right? Kevin would say you have to and then we're talking about the definition of a high value man, right? You have to make $10,000 or more per month for a single man. My God, how many men does that eliminate, right? If the average man in America makes how much? You guys remember what he would tell you? The average black man in America makes $42,000 a year, correct? So at $10,000 a month, that comes to about $120,000 a year. And after taxes, let's say you pay out about a third, that's about $80,000 a year you bring home after taxes. Now, what that does is it allows you as a single man to live a middle to upper middle class lifestyle, depending on where you are, right? And again, keep in mind that the average black man, I'm just talking about, I'm gonna go to white guys in a minute, white, black, and everybody else in between. The average black man makes $42,000 a year. And so if you take a third from that, what does that leave you with? Right? That leaves you with about, $30,000 a year, a little under $30,000 a year. So you got this one guy who has $80,000 a year, and you got it bringing home $80,000 a year, and you're bringing home about 30,000. He has nearly, over twice as much money as you're bringing home. And so you can see the difference. These are very rare circumstances. It's a little over 10%. I believe it's somewhere between 9 to 13% of men make six figures in the black community. So that's a tiny percentage. If you got 20 million black men, that's about 2 million, and it's just not enough, more or less. And we can check these figures, but for the most part, that's it. So here's the thing, and we're just talking about this definition from an academic standpoint, right? This is what we're doing. We're breaking it down like we're in a university setting. So white guys make $50,000 a year, right? And they're bringing home what? They're going to bring home knock 17 off, which is more or less about a third. Of course, you're counting for the write-offs and whatnot. But for the most part, they're subsisting on about $30,000 a year, $35,000 a year. And so even, that is pretty low, right? Again, you got to subtract the taxes from that. And so that's where we got that term. But the purpose of being able to bring home, the purpose of that component of having $10,000 or more per month for a single man, and that's going to change if you get married, okay? That's going to change if you have a family. You're going to need a lot more than $10,000 a month to maintain a high value man lifestyle. You got cars and car notes. Your house note might be $5,000 alone. And then you have taxes at the end of the year. And then you have a car note, which might be $1,000. And then you have you have insurance and all these other things. And if you have a family, you have to pay for that. And you're probably going to be paying for your wife's car. So, and all the other stuff that goes along with that, children. So $10,000 a month is not going to allow you to live an upper middle class lifestyle. But Kevin talked about that, but we're just going to talk about the basic component of high value man. But the main thing is $10,000 is sufficient. That's sufficient. Okay, that's sufficient, and we understand why, because it puts you in that range where you have $80,000 in disposable income, which is twice, almost three times as much as the average man in the United States. Okay, so now we understand that component. That's your component. Now, here's the other thing: you can't just make $10,000 a month for a year and then be considered a high value man. That's why Kevin put that 3 to 5 year bracket on it. You got to be making it for 3 to 5 years. But why 3 to 5? Why not just three? And why not just five? Because it would depend on your occupation. If you got a job that has a 3 year contract and you make $10,000 a year, $10,000 a month for 3 years, but you know it's going to end. That's not consistent. But after somewhere, depending on the occupation. But the thing is, right, what we're looking for is consistency. Now, and this is going to hurt some feelings, right? But consistency eliminates the hustlers, it eliminates the scammers, it eliminates the ball players, it eliminates those who might hit a few licks back to back a few years in a row. And so you can't say, because in that conversation I had today in Willie D's at the podcast, some of the ladies say, I know plenty of men who make 100,000, 6 figures a year. Yeah, some ball players, some scammers, but they don't count. Because first of all, we all know that the name that the football players who I've hung out with, they call the NFL not for long for a reason. The NFL stands for not for long. The average football player who gets in the NFL, they play for 3 years and they're out. The minimum last time I checked was $500,000 a year. So you can make the money and you can do it for 3 to 5 years. But then after that, it's over. So what does that do? It kind of eliminates that. And see, again, there's a consistency thing. You need it for 3 to 5 years, but it shows a track record. But if you're a hustler or a scammer or someone who operates outside of the law, or if you're a contracted employee like a football player, you really can't consider yourself a high value man by playing a sport because there's no longevity in it, right? And we'll deal with that issue. See, some of these things, these concepts, and I'm beginning to unravel them. Some of these concepts are wrapped up in other means. So let's keep in mind that consistency. But basically, $10,000 per month allows you to do what? Live an upper middle class lifestyle. 3 to 5 years demonstrates you can get it on a consistent basis. Now, here's another one that's real tricky, and this eliminates a lot more men who may have money and who may have had a job paying them $10,000 a month for more than 3 to 5 years. Having a network of other high value men. What does that do? And what does that mean? Okay, so your network increases your power and influence. Okay. The way you create a network, and I'll talk about this aspect first, and I'll talk about how, and I can apply this because this is my lifestyle. Practicing law and being an attorney, I need to be able to make a phone call sometimes and get things done. I don't always want to have to do things myself. And and the way in which you create a network is, you travel in certain circles with men who are like yourself, men who make the money, men who've been doing it for a while. Kevin would talk about this notion of favorites and secrets. And I didn't even realize what the hell he was talking about. But now I get it. Everybody's going to need something at some point, even guys with money. Everybody's going to need something, right? And most folks appreciate discretion. If somebody knows that you're not going to be out there blabbing and opening your mouth every time every time something happens, then they can begin to build trust with you. That's what he would talk about when he said, hold my secrets. Some of these guys, like, let's look at some of these guys that you guys know. They couldn't hold water, right? They have no discretion. They talk too much. A lot of these guys talk like women. I mean, we know that, right? Some of you ladies who've dated men who they've been raised by single mothers, They're worse than women. You can tell them nothing because they'll go blab your secrets out. Just so you might be on your menstrual cycle, and next thing you know, everybody in the neighborhood knows because he's blabbed it out. This is not something that men who are in a high value network will want. We don't want gentlemen like that in our group. We want men who are able to operate with discretion, who know how to maintain a certain level of decorum, keep the secrets. Pillow talk, that's a good word. Shout out to Neil Stewart. Yeah, you got to shut up. One of the first things they teach you when you enter into a fraternity is just shut up. You talk too much. So I think, and it depends on which fraternity you pledge, but most of the black fraternity, one of the main is shut up. Shut up is a key word. Shut up, don't talk, be quiet. Learn that first. That's the first thing you learn, to shut up, right? Don't smile, don't talk, just shut up. And you'd be surprised how many men just don't know how to just shut up. And so that's one of the first things. They're building you up to try to get you to that point. Now, favors. If most wealthy men, most men with money, they're not necessarily going to need to borrow money from you. Okay? But they may have a son who wants to go to a particular university, or who wants to go to a military style university, and you may know someone like a senator or a congressman who can write a letter for him. That's a favor that he can't get with money. You see, and what does that do? And what I'm having a network of other high value men, that's what it does for you. High value means I can depend on this network of men to get things done that money can't pay for. You see, and this is something that folks don't realize. And this is one of the aspects that's important. So let's recap this. You're making $10,000 or more per month. Why is that? Because it allows you to live an upper middle class lifestyle. You've been making it for 3 to 5 years. That shows consistency, right? And you have a network of other high value men that you can rely on, right? You can call. I can get your son in college. There's an issue at the university, or there's an issue at the school. You know the vice principal because you work together. You went to college together. This is how that works. Here's another one that's very key, right? So that's 3, right? Being useful to others in the group. So we said making $10,000 or more per month. You've been doing that for 3 to 5 years. You have a network of other high value men, and you're useful to others in the group. Now, just in that 4, when have you ever heard anybody break that down like that? And that's why I'm telling you guys, like, we missed out on so much. Kevin Samuels was so hell-bent on teaching you guys one-on-one and putting these videos out that, this is PhD level sociology and anthropology here. Because when I get to the point at the end, you'll understand what I'm saying. But being useful to others in the group, that's anthropological. If you go and travel around the world, it's not necessarily a me thing. Only in the United States and Western countries, right, is the me more important than the we, where the I is more important than the us. In these other places, being useful to the group shows or demonstrates or allows you to increase your social status. And I've talked about that before. But let's say this. So you got a friend, y'all have friends, but you're powerless, right? Let's say, and I'm going to use this terminology because it's easy for folks to, understand that your son, your daughter, better yet, your daughter wants to get married and she wants to use this particular venue. And the venue owner won't allow her to use it because it's booked that day or they don't rent it out that day. And you make a phone call and you get something done. That's an obvious case of being useful to the group. Now, in my situation, and I want you guys to examine Kevin Samuels and what did he do? He surrounded himself by high value men during his lifetime. And what you see those same men doing is congealing around him and making sure his property is protected, his people are put in place, You guys spoke with his best friend Jeff, who is also a PhD. He didn't tell you that, but it's really Dr. Jeff. Okay. So Dr. Jeff went down, took care of things, took care of his daughter, had the time, the money, expense to stop everything he was doing, go down to Atlanta and take care of Kevin's things and his belongings and everything with his daughter. Kevin put me in place. He had me around him, and that allows me to say, "Hey, look, I need this to stop. I need that to stop. I don't want you guys calling. I'll call a press conference. We'll get this done. I'll get you hooked up with this lawyer and that lawyer." I was useful to the group. I was useful to him in particular, but useful to the group. You see what I'm saying? So, um, what I want you guys to understand is that there's a reason why Kevin thought out these particular um, requirements to be a high value man. So it's not just money, right? Money is just one aspect of it. It's a key component, but it's not just one component. You can't. It's not all in there. Okay, being useful to the group, because you can have a lot of money, but if your money gets taken away from you, or you don't have anybody who can help you with it, then your group is weak. What if I was the type of person that just sat by and allow the world, the press to assassinate the character and legacy of my friend, and I'm in his group? That makes the group look weak, right? And you could understand, even from a strategic standpoint, why I would want to protect my friend's legacy, because I'm tied to my friend. If this is how you allow, there's a reason why Marines don't leave anybody behind. You guys familiar with the Marine Corps model? You guys, are there any military guys in here? You don't leave anyone behind? Why is that? Marines. Where the Marines at? I like the Marines. My brother's a Marine. My two brothers are Marines. My granddaddy was a Marine. My uncle was a Marine. If I hadn't become a lawyer, I probably have become a Marine. Uh, hit the number one button for the Marine Corps. Let's get that. Okay. Shout out to the Marine Corps. Shout out to all the armed forces, but hit the number one button for the Marine Corps. Right. Big shout out to that. They used to be part of the Navy branch. But they did security for the Navy until they decided to do their own. But shout out to the Marine Corps. Shout out to my brothers, both of my brothers who are Marines, and to my late great grandfather, Jim Sperling. All the Marines out there in San Diego. Shout out to the Marine Corps. Got much love for the armed forces, but there's a reason why Marines don't leave anybody behind, right? Marines, you don't leave anybody behind, because if the enemy knows, if your people know that if they get shot and killed, you're going to leave them on the side of a mountain somewhere, or leave them dead and destitute somewhere, that affects morale, doesn't it? But if they know you're coming back for them, if they know you're not going to, even if their body is limp and lifeless, you're going to bring them home, then, it gives them some security, as much security as you can have, right? But this is why what? This is why being useful to the group and this is why this is important, because I got your back, you got my back. What kind of friend would I be if I allowed the world to talk reckless and talk horrible about my friend, who someone I say is my friend, and I just let them talk bad about him, right? You guys expected, even when Nipsey Hussle was assassinated or killed, you expected his group, which was a LA gang, to retaliate against anybody who talks bad about him, don't you? So why would I, as a high value man, and being friends with Kevin Samuels, and any of us who are friends with him, shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson, because you guys think I've been on it. O'Shea's been really on it. He's been doing a good job helping dispel some of these negative tropes out there. Um, so this is what you do for your group. You're useful to the group. It makes the group stronger. People want to be part of your group. Okay, so that's important. And you have to have the network and the ability to be able to do that. Now, here's one that really, really rocks people. Okay. Because see, there's a lot of people who they make $10,000 or more a year. They got, 3 to 5 years they've been at it. All right, they're good. They got a network of, they got a network of high value men. They got all that, right? They got it. And they're useful to the group, but they're not LinkedIn level. What does that mean? That means they're doing something, and we get it. They're making money, but they're not LinkedIn level, right? LinkedIn level means um, above board. It means I can see what you're doing. I mean, it means you're a CEO, you're this, you're that, the other. Yeah, you make money, but you know what? You're not a high value man. Okay, but I make it, but you're not on LinkedIn level. I can see what you do, right? And this hurts some feelings, but that's why he said, you can be a plumber, you can be a Henry, and we'll deal with that word tomorrow. We'll deal with that word another day, but you're not on a high level. And here's another one, right? Here's another one. People who are in the underworld. Let's look at the case of Pablo Escobar, one of the richest drug dealers who ever lived on this planet, right? When he ran for Congress in Colombia, they damn near laughed him out of there, right? Because, yeah, he had the money. He was useful to the group. He had been making it 3 to 5 years. He had another network of high value men he could work with. He was definitely making more than $10,000 a month, but he wasn't LinkedIn level, fam. You see, he was a crook. He was a criminal. And people didn't want to do business with him, and that kind of falls into our next requirement, accepted by the group. What the hell does that mean? Well, let me tell you the story about Master P. You guys familiar with Master P? Huh? You familiar with Master P, the rapper from the 1990s? So Master P was from New Orleans, Louisiana. And some of you guys weren't even born back there. But Master P is a rapper. His real name is Percy Miller. He got hot when I was probably in college or law school or something like that. But he had a lot of songs that came out. He wasn't really the best writer, but he definitely knew how to market his stuff. Bottom line, this man generated 250 some odd million dollars inside of maybe a 5 to 10 year period. Okay. And he managed to move from the projects of New Orleans to Baton Rouge to this place where they have the country club is what they call it. And if you guys know anything about the country club, um, it has a lot of old money there. They have lots of mansions. They have a golf course. You got to be a member of the country club to join the golf course. And one of the requirements is that you have to own property there. Now, Master P, apparently, him and his No Limit Soldiers, straight out the Calio projects, bought all of these mansions, right, up here with these good white folk from Baton Rouge. And any of you guys know anything about Baton Rouge, shout out to the BR, okay? Shout out to Baton Rouge. Anybody know anything about Baton Rouge? Baton Rouge is the old South, especially back then 20, 30 years ago. They would remember now. They were just coming out of the old South, okay? So you got Master P straight out the projects of the Calliope and all his brothers and family members. They weren't feeling that, okay? When I say they, I'm talking about those good, respectable white folks wasn't feeling it. Okay, they wasn't feeling Master P and the Callio moving to the country club, so they wouldn't let him join the country club. Matter of fact, they gave him such a hard time there that he ended up selling all those houses and moving to California, moving to Beverly Hills. He was not accepted by the group, irrespective of the amount of money he had. You see? So these are the requirements of high value men. Now, some men would say they're high value, but they're not accepted by the group of high value men. And here's another one that hurts people's feelings. You don't get to determine whether or not you're a high value man. Other men who are high value do. You see? And so this was the genius of what Kevin was saying. So, the thing is, and the one thing I want to talk about, and I'm gonna give you my assessment, then maybe we'll let some people, you guys want to come in, who wants to come in and talk? If you want to come in and talk, hit the KS button. I know this is you know, um, probably more academic than you're used to, but I think it's important we begin to break down these terms so you guys have a better understanding. And feel free to challenge me on it. I'd love to challenge me on this. Is my definition accurate? If I'm not, I want to hear it. Tell me I'm off. I like that. I invite that, and especially from his fans, it'll give you something to do. It'll start to make you feel better and make you realize he's still here with us. As long as you talk about your ancestors, they're still here with you. And that's the thing you guys have to accept. We're all going to lose these physical bodies, but this man left such a great body of work here that's easily accessible to so many people that we can talk about this for years. Okay. And as long as we do that, Kevin Samuel's spirit will be here and we can continue building and developing ourselves to be better mates and better citizens. So if you appreciate this, and we're going to do the breakdown now, you appreciate this, hit the number 1 button. I'm going to go ahead and open up the chat room. You're going to have to cam up. Ladies and gentlemen are working. Guys, I know you guys are used to this being the man page, but we're going to have to share for a little while, at least until I can run these folks out of here. I'm going to start talking about the military or something like that. We're going to run all these folks out of here. They'll run off when I start talking about 50 cal Hal and all the stuff that we normally talk about on this page. But for a little while, we're going to be accommodating to our guests and show them the respect these people are grieving and hurting. And so, as a comrade, I want to try to do something. This is my part, and hopefully other men in the manosphere who understood Kevin's work, who instead of making all these hate videos about me, let me take a little time to say, why y'all making all these hate videos about me, man? How would you feel if your son died and you got all these people attacking you and calling you and stuff like that? That wouldn't be cool. You see what I'm saying? And so I'm just drawing a little fire. All you street dudes, man, you gonna let people talk about your dead homeboy like that? Of course you wouldn't. You'll step you any kind of man, you'll step in the cut, man, and fight for your homeboys, man, and fight for your side. And that's all I'm doing. That's disrespectful to run and hide when when the bullets get to flying, you running and hiding. I don't respect that. You see what I'm saying? No man respect. Nobody would respect any of you guys who consider yourself friends of Kevin Samuels, and you sitting around and you not saying anything because you don't want to draw fire. Man, people lose respect for you, man, the other side. So that's why I'm doing what I do. But y'all keep coming, whatever. I'm gonna sue some people. That's on everything. Okay, that's on, as the young boys say, that's on hood. I'm gonna sue some people. I'm a little ghetto. I apologize. Those of you guys who know I'm a little hood and petty, I will respond to the comments. I've been told by Kevin Samuels and some of the other YouTubers that I should not respond to the comments, but I can't help it. I'm a little petty. Okay. I enjoy it. I do. I really enjoy being a little petty with the comment section. I might say, your mama, I'm sorry. I'm still a lawyer, but I'm a black lawyer. Okay. I'm sorry about that, but I know who I'm dealing with. So I'll try to stop. I'll try. I'll try to stop being petty. I'll try to stop responding to the haters, but I am gonna sue some people. Okay. And that's on hood. That's what they say on hood. I'm gonna sue some people. That's what you young boys say. It's a promise for the white folks who are visiting here. That means I promise, and I'm absolutely certain that I'm going to do this, and it's in a definitive manner. It's going to happen. But for you black, y'all know what I mean. So I'm gonna sue some people. I can't wait to sue. So what's the name of that? The Kevin Samuels roast. I'm gonna sue you. I already got your PayPal information. You mine. I'm gonna seize your bank accounts. And next thing you know, I'll be sitting in your mama house talking about y'all owe me some money. But I'm gonna have fun with that. But that's I might make that. I'm gonna let my law. I got some new laws. I know I'm rambling. I'll do that. I got some new law students coming over from Texas Southern University's Law Center, Thurgood Marshall, and I'm going to train them up in some litigation. So all of us, we're going to do some HBCU training. I'm going to teach some young lawyers how to sue struggle streamers. right? So when they get out there, we're gonna have a party on your money. I'm gonna pay them with your AdSense money and your PayPal money and your Cash App money. That's what's gonna happen. So you're gonna get sued. That's on everything. You understand? You deserved it. And it's only gonna cost me $402, all right, for file a lawsuit. Then I'm gonna put my associates on it. But look, let's get back to the lesson. So what are we talking about tonight? We're talking about the and hit the KS button. Let's keep that thing going. Hit the KS button. Hit the KS button. All right, we got to show love because I tell people. I've heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say people always take credit for my stuff. They always take credit for my teacher's stuff. Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but they never give me credit. So when you guys hit the KS button, that's showing love for the man that invented this. That's the man who invented these complicated terms that we're breaking down right now that are meant to help you, right? Right? What is a high value man? It's a man who earns more than $10,000 a month. All right. It's a man who's earned more than $10,000 a month for 3 to 5 years. It's a man who's earned $10,000 a month for more than 3 to 5 years. And he has a network of other high value men. Okay. A high value man is a man who earns $10,000 more per month, earns 3 to 5 years, has a network of other high value men, and is useful for the group, is on LinkedIn level, and is accepted by the group. And remember, you don't get to determine, other people do. You don't get to determine, other people do. Okay. So you can't just say I'm a high value man. No. Other people who are high value men get to determine if you're a high value man. So what do they have in common? What do all these traits have in common? And this is the analysis that's necessary because this shows how important Kevin's work was. What do they have and what are these traits? What's the similarity between that? Where's the pattern, right? What I see with these particular traits is that a high value man is someone who is reliable for a long time. He's also someone who has a sustainable amount of money or a money that will allow you to be sustained in an upper middle class to rich lifestyle for a long period of time, right? And now you understand why these type of men, these high value men, are desirable because they're able to provide twice as much money as most people, most men. They're stable, okay? They got high earning capacity, and they do actually earn that, and they fulfill that capacity. And what does this do for a woman? Look what this does for a woman. It allows her to be able to have children and to live free from the stress associated with poverty. This is why this is why high value men are selected. See, poverty. What happens if you're dealing with a dope dealer who makes $100,000 a year for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, and then he goes to jail for 20? It's not sustainable. You go to jail, you go to prison. That's why LinkedIn level is important. Okay. What happens if you got a rich football player who's making $20 million a year, right? And let's say he made it for a while, or an actor who's made it for a while. Okay. But he's not useful to the group. He can't even go outside. He can't even go outside and operate and do anything or make business deals because he's always getting mobbed by people. You see? That's why Kevin always eliminated the ball players and the actors. They own something different. Y'all heard when he said that? Huh? Y'all heard when he said that? So reliability is important for families. The amount of money you make is important for family. Okay? Living stress-free is really important for family. Ladies, what happens to you when you get stressed out? What happens to your menstrual cycle when you're stressed out? It's a biological adaptation. When women are stressed out, when they're living in poverty, when they're overworked, what ends up happening is they lose their menstrual cycle. It happens because it's a biological adaptation. What it does is your body says we must be low on resources And so, because we were low on resources, I'm going to prevent myself from having children. This was brilliant. This is anthropological stuff. This is stuff that if you studied history, you studied how man and societies develop, you would understand why this makes sense. So now that we've analyzed this, I want to go ahead and bring in a young lady. Uh, Ma'am, welcome back. How are you today?
Hey,
Did I catch you off guard?
how's it going?
I don't make
What'd you say?
announcements. I just click you in. All right, I got to work on that. But welcome to the broadcast. How are you
Yeah.
today?
Can you hear me? My connection's a
We can hear
little.
you fine. We can hear you fine. I brought up the fact that today I was on the podcast with Willie D and Scarface. I know they got the Ghetto Boys, podcast, and it's real hip in there. They cuss and they got beer and liquor. I didn't
Oh
drink
God.
any, but I was like, no, I better not take any shots. I don't want to get too loose in here. But it was cool, it was cool, because it was black folks talking about black people issues. But the thing I noticed is that when we came to the basic, now where you running off to? You got the cam up. Don't come back here with porn. Let me put you in the click off, but I don't know what.
What's
Uh-uh.
going on here? Okay, let's try.
I don't
Sorry,
know.
the audio
I don't know.
was like horrible.
I don't know. You got that struggle stream
Okay,
going
so let's
on.
try that. Let's try that again.
You got old struggle stream. Your stream struggling. Kevin would have dismissed you by
Struggle,
now. I'm nice. He would have dismissed you. He'd have like, I'm not like that. But do you understand the terminology? I want to be able to break this down, and we're going to break down some more of this terminology. High value man, right? So do you
Hmm.
see the different? It's like 7 different characteristics that determine high value men. Do you understand it better now? I mean, did you get that why? And then you see why he chose those particular criteria. You see, it both eliminates and it allows in. That's what he does. It eliminates and it gets rid of the instability in men. That's what I saw. What are your thoughts? Go ahead. You froze. Look at you freezing. Go ahead. Now go ahead and talk now.
Am I the one cutting out?
Yes, you the problem, ma'am.
I like literally. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. What are your thoughts?
man, I see cricket. Did I see cricket wireless? This stream. Okay,
We can hear you.
okay.
Go ahead and go.
You can hear me. Okay, I have like my internet today has been on when I had an interview a few hours ago with
No,
Dr.
I
Umar
got
and
some
Josh
buttons
Amos.
over here they gave me. Look at that.
This is a struggle. Okay, one second. I'm
We're gonna
gonna
let
go
somebody
back
else
in.
in because the sister is not ready for this. Anybody else want to come in? Come on in. I want to get a couple of ladies in first. Let's get the ladies in. We got a few brothers here and waiting around. Let me see. And then, but let's try to bring a brother in real quick, Mr. Wilson. How you doing today, sir? How are you today, sir?
Try to bring a brother in real quick, Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Wilson, you have your I can hear you in the background there. Yes, sir. All right, go ahead, sir. So we're analyzing the Kevin Samuel's definition of high
Yeah.
value men. And I'm gonna go ahead and put the criteria up here for everybody to see again. Do you understand? Do you see? I mean, analyzing it here tonight, and I don't know if you've done this before. What are your thoughts on it now that we see the commonality that all 7 of these traits have in common? What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts on high value men. I mean, I really have no argument with the high value man system, or I guess you could say the parameters that fall between being a high value man. I mean, I really more so called in to figure out how do I go about combating the people, because there's a lot of Kevin Samuels haters where I'm from and in my circle. So how do I best go about engaging them in a way that I can still stay on social media? Because I have the type of personality where I'm petty too, and the algorithms are prepared for people like me. So I need to find a better way to do it.
It's easy to be petty. Isn't it easy to get down in the dirt? I mean, just get down and gritty with them. I enjoyed myself. I admit.
And if Vivica talk, Karma's talk, like I consider myself an agent of karma. And sometimes some people, they just have to receive it. It has to be administered. You know.
Let's do this. I don't want to deal with that now. Those people who are saying those things, they are definitely uninformed, you know, and I think history will vindicate Kevin Samuels and his work, because the great thing is it's here. We don't have to rely on hearsay. We don't even have to rely on books. We have all of his work right here for us to review, you know, and whether it's on YouTube or some other platform, it'll be there, you know, so don't do that to yourself. Okay.
I'm dealing with people who won't even watch the content. It's like I got a brother who just started his own podcast, and every word come out. He actually said he was glad Kevin Samuels was dead. So to me, that hurt my heart, because that's my blood brother saying this on the social media. You know.
Well, you know, people say they were glad Malcolm X died. They were glad Martin Luther King died. You know, like. And that's your brother. I don't, you know, brother, that's your family member, you know, and it's just going to take time. But what I want to focus on is this, because this is what's important. This is the lesson for tonight, right? Because this is how we keep his legacy alive. This is what a high value man is. I know, is that blinking on the screen there? Let me stop that. Let me get this back up. All right. I want to get this in, and I want some ladies to come in, because the ladies are the ones having the hardest time, especially the ones who are fans of Kevin Samuels. So let's try to get this in here.
Daddy,
okay. You got some noise in the background. You got a youngin' in there. But $10,000 or more per month for a single man. Okay, 3 to 5 years. Having a network of other high value men, being useful to others in the group, LinkedIn level. Why do you think people harp on the fact that, oh, it's the monetary component? Why do they harp on that? Oh, let me unmute you. Go ahead, sir.
Because they don't have it, and they don't have a plan to get it. You know, these steps sound easy, or they look easy, but to somebody that's, what's the word I'm looking for? Inequipped. This looks like the list that the women have. This is no different than the list that a lot of women have in dating. See,
so basically what you're saying is it eliminates them from being a high value man. And so they think if high value man, basically the high value man is the alpha male, and everybody wants to see themselves. And so they see it as an insult as opposed to reality. Great point, Mr. Wilson. I appreciate that. Let's try and get Miss Shay back in here. We'll come back to you in a minute. All right. So hold on 1 minute. All right. So did you get your struggle stream together, man?
Let's hope so. I hear you fine. So
praise God. Praise God. Yeah, you out here. You got me looking. I got this new camera. I got this microphone, and your stream is struggling. You got me. You know, as they used to say, I'm down bad, as they used to say in New Orleans. It's down bad.
It's definitely where I literally put all my camera setup, everything up, and then literally like, oh, come on and call in. And so to be fair, I'm not on like
let's get you focused on the subject matter.
Okay,
now.
the subject,
focused on the subject matter. Now, we're talking about these attributes of a high value man. I think one of the most offensive ones to a lot of these brothers, and mind you, we know the women are offended by Kevin's standards. We know that. We've seen that. But what I saw today is that a lot of men are offended by this whole high value man concept. But if you're a high value man, it makes a lot of damn sense.
And you're not offended.
Yeah, you're not offended.
Yeah.
And let me put this one in, because this is the most important one. This is what really ticked a lot of people off. You don't get to determine that you are one. So let's look at this. Let's break these down. Let me make it a little bigger. Can everybody see? Hit the KS button, because this is his stuff, not mine. All right. $10,000 per month for a single man. Do you understand why Kevin made that a requirement?
So, okay. So I talked to Dr. Tizon Johnson earlier.
Okay, I'm gonna say what Kevin would say. Answer the question. You didn't answer the question.
Yeah, no, I'm getting there.
You didn't answer the question. That's
why
what
he said. Why he said that?
You didn't answer the question. That's what he was saying. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'm trying to get to. I think personally, I think that this actually came from standards that women put on men.
Really?
Yes. The $10,000, the $10,000 a month, the 6 figures.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and this is based upon conversations I mentioned him, conversations I had.
Name dropping Dr. Johnson. I'll call him on the phone and see if you tell him.
Do it. No, do it. We just had a conversation. I interviewed earlier. But make a long story short, you guys, you know more than me that men, the standards that women have for men have been around for decades. That's been everybody's been talking about this. So
see, what we're talking about is high value men.
Yes.
And I've never heard anybody coin it like that. High value men. You can be a man, you can be a middle class man, you can be a physically fit man, you can be a handsome man, you can have 6 figures, but this is a high value man. So it requires more than just money. It's a whole, it's like, okay, can I make some soup with some water and salt and pepper and put a piece of celery in it? That ain't soup. That's just water with salt and celery in it, right?
Yeah.
But when you put all these together, and this is what the point of this exercise, when you put all these together, and then you figure out, well, what is the common line between? What's the purpose of this? It allows for women to say, this is a high value man. I can count on his longevity. I can count on his influence. I can count on his power, and I can count on his what? Financial status to help sustain me and a family through at a high level of living.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a high value man. Yeah, there are plenty of men out there, like some dudes, it's not saying you got to bench press 500 pounds to be a high value man. It's just giving you these characteristics. And this is his definition. And what is he doing? This will allow you to sustain a family for a long period of time at a high level. I get it. You understand what I'm saying? So you can't take the monetary component out of. People are offended by that. Why? Because it eliminates so many. But guess what else does? LinkedIn level eliminates people too. And so does accepted by the group. We could have started from the bottom. Are you on LinkedIn level? Not you, but you get the point. So, but go ahead. Let's hear what you got to say. Respond to that.
And perhaps I misunderstood because I thought we were starting with point 1. I thought the question was why, if we're just looking at the monetary $10,000 a month, you're saying for all the points.
All of this, there's a confluence between those points. They all merge. They're all necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't take one out and still be a high value man. You have to have all of these points.
Okay.
It's necessary. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's when two rivers come together, they confuse. When they fuse, they're all together. You see, you can't separate one. You can't be a high value man if you don't get to determine other people do. And the reason is because you can be accepted by the group, you can be on LinkedIn level, you can be useful, and you can have a network of other high value men. But if you only make $2,000 or $10,000 for 2 years, you don't fall in the high value, because what does that do? It eliminates your longevity to be able to be a good provider for the family. See, that's what Kevin's whole point was. He wanted people to get married. He fought with men for 5 years, and said, look, you don't make enough money. On top of that, you're fat, But think about it, even in this, there's no conversation. He doesn't talk about your physical attributes as a man. But the bottom line is, what he's saying is, these men are high value because they're high value for women. Because they do what? They are better providers. They have more longevity. They have more power. They have more influence. I get it. But a lot of people don't. Why are folks so offended by that? Go ahead. I want you to tell me that, ma'am.
That's a good question because, looking at that, I'm like, I don't see an issue with it because.
Go ahead. I want to hear you.
Yeah, I'm saying I don't see an issue because so often I feel his work is mischaracterized.
Mm-hmm.
But what is often taken from the conversation is that, again, he's talking to women have already made it clear that 90% of the male population is not good enough for them. Basically 90%. So it's like, of course, if we're looking at the top 10%, there's a reason that they're considered that. There's a reason they're considered high value.
But no. Here, I want you to listen to something. I want you to listen very carefully, because it's not just a monetary component. You
Yes.
can make $10,000. You can make $1 million a year and not be a high value man. That was what Kevin was trying to explain to y'all. You can be a little fat dude, that's 300 pounds, and be a high value man. If you fit all of these criteria, you can be a rich man who's made his money in the drug game and not be a high value man, but fit in all these other categories. You see what I'm saying? Because the group, you're not LinkedIn level, and most people who are LinkedIn level are not going to choose you. They determine who you are. So it's not just a monetary component. And people but go ahead. Why do people get stuck on that, Shay?
That's a really good question. Why they get stuck on?
And go ahead. No, I want to hear it.
Why they get stuck on everything? Yeah, that's a really good question.
It's the same reason women get stuck on his youth requirement for women.
Maybe it's because, do you think it's maybe because so few qualify for, when you look at everything in its totality? Because I like how you use the golf course scenario. I worked in a golf course, a private golf course, $1 million for years. Worked there, lived in really nice areas with my parents, things like that. And there is a huge difference in how you behave, respond, really the politics, the relationships, completely different when you're in that kind of environment.
Right.
And so I loved how you used that example of how a Master P who had the money could go into that scenario where there was already families that had been established, old money, old wealth, kind of those unspoken rules. And he's coming in from a completely different background, completely different vantage point, way of seeing things. And that even if you have money, it doesn't mix. So there's more of a social, very much a social, I don't know if you want to call it political aspect of it, but it is. So that's why when I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking of my experiences and seeing how people interacted. It makes total sense. But based upon that, very few, I think, would qualify, because it's not just working hard, it's also understanding the politics and how to integrate and how to interact with people on that level. And that requires a level of training, and not everybody has that.
I agree with that. I agree with that. So, so here's the thing. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to create a better understanding, because a lot of these people are angry with Kevin Samuels. But if you said, here's the thing, if you said this, let me pull this up. I went to the college today, and my professor said this. He said that men who are most desirable to women make more than $10,000 a month. They've been making it for more than 3 to 5 years. They have another network of men like them, and they're also useful to the other men, and they're well known in the industries that they're in. So that means they're not some scallywag types. They're accepted by the group, and they don't get a chance to determine that they're most desirable men. Other people do. You would say, oh, wow, that's very enlightening. That professor, he really knows something. Wow. You see, if you strip it, because Kevin Samuels, because people have decided to be mad at him for whatever reason, because he hurt their little feelings, right? You hurt my feelings. You said I was a leftover woman. I can never listen to you. Okay, you know what? Get your big rags. But anyway, let me stop. But if you look at the work here, if you look at this body of work and you analyze this is brilliant, because it does everything you need as a one. It gives you, if a man complies with this is a very good mate to have children with. He is probably going to be extremely stable. He's going to have money. He's going to have finances. He has other people who are on his level that can help. Because you got a guy. Let's say you're a lawyer, and you don't know any other lawyers. You didn't go to law school. You went to law school by yourself, so you don't know anybody, right? And there's an old saying in the practice of law: a good lawyer knows the law. An excellent lawyer knows the judge. You see what I'm saying? So you see how you know what I'm saying? So your network of other high value men is extremely important. I'm able to get things done because of my network. I went to a HBCU. I went to 2 of them, right? My network, especially here in the southern region of the United States, is extremely extensive. I can literally reach out to anybody that I want to. And being a lawyer allows me to reach out to even more. That's why I was able to get Judge Joe Brown, who went to law school with my dad.
Wow, that's crazy.
To come on my show. And then also give a tribute to Miss Beverly, which I hope she'll be thrilled by it. You see?
Yeah.
That's networking. Just because I make $10,000 a month don't mean I can call Judge Brown and have him stop everything he's doing to do me a favor. You understand what I'm saying? That's that. Go ahead. Go.
Yeah. Well, and you know, not that I can't say I have the answer, but this kind of reminds me of another conversation that I've seen, or another tension I've seen within the manosphere. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this whole conversation around suits. And I remember when Mr. Obsidian came on my platform, and that was like a good 30 or 40-minute back and forth. He was going with some of the different people in the chat, and they were arguing over wearing suits and whether or not it was necessary or not. And I'm like, I don't fully get it, but apparently this is a big thing.
Right. Well, a lot of men, okay, think about it. Here's the thing. There was a time when black men used to wear suits all the time. Like our kids used to wear suits. But because of and I did an analysis on this, because of the influx of drugs in the 1980s and the breakdown of the family home, what you had was a lot of men who said, oh, you know, I'm gonna be saggy pants guy. And that's what you ended up with. So a lot of these guys are just not used to it. But here's the thing. I'm gonna explain. Let me tell y'all something. Okay, so I'm hanging out with Kevin Samuels, me, MTR, and the lead attorney, and we in New York. Okay, now I don't know if Kevin's pretty much the same way he is. He the man, right? I'm in there, and I'm not buying nothing, because remember I went to Miami and spent $15,000. I ain't spending nothing on nothing until I figure out what the game plan is, right?
Right.
So we're over in Tom Ford. Now we done went through. This is a few weeks back. We went through a couple of doors. We're upstairs. We're in a private area. It's a whole nother floor for rich people, right? And I'm like, I don't know how I ain't buying none of this stuff. It's too much. Now I'm not gonna put the lead attorney's business out there, but he got. I know he spent a lot more money than he planned to. Me, on the other hand, man, I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I see it. Nice suits. We tried some suits. Kevin gave me some pointers. So I got a suit I'm ordering. So I'm gonna get my lapel a little bigger because I'm a larger man. I'm like 6'5".
Okay.
And I lost 15 pounds for you haters. All you haters out there hating on me. I'm down to 285 now. I can't wait till I get to 240. You understand what I'm talking about? Then I'll be back to my player weight. But anyway, partner. But he said get a larger lapel. You know, they didn't really have my size in there. I get all my suits custom made. But the bottom line is, I was in there, I bought some cologne. I forget what it's called. Tom Ford. I don't even know the names. Kevin spent the rest of the day convincing me that you did good. You did good. You did good. I'm like, man, I just spent $800 from goddamn cologne. I could have got this at the Slauson Swap Meet for $25 if I was back home in LA.
That's funny.
that bottle of Issey Miyake and some Egyptian musk, and I'm living my best life out there. You know what I'm talking about? I'm gonna put that little oil, the baby oil, on that Egyptian musk and make it stretch a little bit longer. Hop in the shower, you're hopping out, get that Issey Miyake going. That women like that. You know what I'm saying? Women like that. Yeah, that Tuscan leather. That's exactly what I got. And so the thing is, I realized, and here's the crazy thing, I was totally against it, you know. And here's the cold part. And those of you guys who know this, then we because the man will not stand still for an Uber. So we walked to Fifth Avenue, right? So here I am, I'm 6'5", Kevin's 6'4", the lead attorney, he about 6'4". MTR, he's about 6'4". So we got we had an entourage of white. Oh my God, all these the white women. Oh my God, look at that. I mean, you know, and we all in suits and stuff because we had come from filming. And so it was just a cool walk. But then we go over to this other spot and we buy Creed. He said, Dennis, you need to get some Creed. This is the one. Now he was over there seeing what other people were doing, but he was, you need to get this right here, this Creed. I'm like, man, I gotta spend I already got these 2 bottles. Now I gotta get this other bottle. You know what I'm saying? So I got it, because I'm like, okay, I try it. Mind you, in the back of my mind, I still ain't, what's the damn plan? What's the plan? Why are we here in New York? You done showed me this big building with these people making $10 million, selling cologne and other things. I still don't get the plan because, I'm dense. Too many hits to the head when I was playing football and too many boxing matches. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I still didn't figure it out. But the bottom line is, I realized you have to invest in yourself. So lately, I've been running around here. I've been putting a little Creed on. I'm still a little musty sometimes after I work out, but I put the Creed on. And my lady was saying, "You smell great," and you smell great, and even just with her. And then I feel better. You know what I'm saying? I'm running around here with Creed on. I feel good. I look good, and I wear suits and stuff like that. But lately, I'm like, well, let me get a few more custom tailored suits like I used to have. But the bottom line, what I'm saying is, Kevin is trying. You can't be a high value man if you feel bad about yourself. You can't be a high value man if you run around here with shirts that don't. You shopping in the swap meet like I used to for Dickies and Kroger sacks and white t-shirts, and the best you can do is put a crease down the middle, like you know what I'm saying, like he about to do a remake of Boys in the Hood. So he's trying to get these men to fit to dress the part. What's the point of making $10,000 or more for 3 to 5 years? Having a network of other high value men, being useful to the group, being on LinkedIn, right? And you around here looking like a thug, or you around here looking like a football player who just got off practice. He's trying to help you fit the part, and it's gonna cost some money. You see what I'm saying? That's what this brother was trying to do. Look the part, feel the part. You got all this, everything. Let me help you get this together. Kevin used to say this, and I'm gonna give you some breaking news. You're going to win on the emotions and the optics. I'm like, what the hell did he mean? It took me a while to figure that out. You're going to win on the emotions and the optics. What did Kevin Samuels do to you all? First of all, he came in there with them flashy suits, and he wasn't like me doing a Zoom conference, where you got the top good, but then on the bottom, you got some shorts and some flip-flops. Not like me. You had a whole suit on, right? Yeah, I know. I'm giving away secrets, right? Don't ever ask me to stand up. There was this judge who told everybody to done that. Yeah. I know. There was this judge recently who told, they told everybody to stand up. One dude had some flip flops on. He's like, "My bad, Judge. I didn't know. You're in court." "No, I'm in my house, Judge." But anyway, the thing, yeah, I know it's terrible, right? But the man, he had the lights going. The lights was blinking in the background. He had the candles. He had that little spinny thing. I'm gonna try and get that little goddamn spinny thing. I want that little spinny thing. I'm gonna find out where he got that little spinny thing.
I always wondered if there was a psychological thing to that.
It is. He knew what he was doing. It kept you looking at the screen.
Right.
It's the same reason I have this thing roving along the bottom of it that says "Rest in Power, Kevin." It keeps the screen busy. When you're doing visuals, like look at some of these rap videos. What they do is they move the camera like this. So it makes it look like the rapper is doing more movement. You see what I'm saying? It's almost like a snake charmer hypnotizing a snake.
I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, exactly. You see what I mean? So Kevin knew what he was doing. Those were the optics. You got him. You could barely see him. You're trying to, what the hell? I'm trying to look at him. So he's capturing your attention. The optics.
Fair point.
You understand? And then he'll say things to make you emotional. I can't believe he said that. And that's why he was winning. That's why the man was making, $2-3 million every couple of months.
Yeah.
You're going to win on the optics and the emotions. What I'm not is a dating coach. What I'm not is I'm not an image consultant, but I am a strategist.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. I am someone who figures out the game plan. Kevin Samuel said this. He said, "Dennis, you like the only one that figured it out." I'm like, "I know, because I see what was going on. I see what you were doing." And that's why I got a struggle stream. I ain't really care. I like talking about what I like to talk about. And then all y'all showed up when I started talking about Kevin and he died. So y'all welcome. But for the most part, I like doing what I like to do. I like to talk about war. We like to talk about medals. Sometimes I'll put pictures of my kids up fighting, all kind of grimy man stuff. But but bottom line is he knew what he was doing. That's why he had so many women listening to him. You see what I'm saying? The optics. It was the optics of it. And you couldn't stand him, but you wanted to hear what he had to say. He won. You're going to win on the optics and the emotions. See, what we're dealing with, we have an image problem in Black America. It's not that we're doing bad, we're doing well. You see what I'm saying? We're doing good. We got 62% of Black men have reached the middle class, right? You got Black women, the most educated group of women in the world. They'll tell you that y'all got goddamn Kamala Harris and all that. Y'all winning out here in these streets. You know what I'm saying?
I don't believe that we're winning, but that's another conversation.
But the bottom line is we're looking good. You see what I'm saying? But the image is still bad. The image is that Black men are thugs and criminals and gangsters and Black women are ghetto and whatnot. The idea that you're a Black woman and they got you up here is like, oh my God, like, oh, natural hair, married. Y'all, she's married. Don't be trying to inbox her. She's a married woman. Her husband's probably standing right next to the screen. You hear me? So my whole point is,
I'm not. This is not a thirst trap. You can tell when a woman comes on and she's
right. But my whole point is, here you are, educated, married Black woman, talking to a Black lawyer on the internet. That's not something that's common. So he recognized that Black folks had an image problem. That's why we needed an image consultant. And he said, you're gonna win this battle on what? Optics and what? Emotions. You see, so the man was genius, and I appreciate his work. You know, I truly appreciate his work. What else would you like to add, ma'am?
I would say more than anything, you know, I like what you're doing as far as really pushing back against the misandrist tone that I've seen across the media, especially among Black women. I've been, you know, whether you agree or disagree, you're hard pressed to find anybody that you 100% agree with. What has bothered me the most is the blatant level of disrespect that I have seen among Black women online, if I'm just being quite frank.
Well,
Black women online using this as an opportunity to celebrate. You're seeing it on some of the different content creators, even some of the different media. I know you said you have some lawsuits coming, but that's
But go ahead.
So with that, you know, I'm glad that you are making it a point, because I think this isn't just, I think, about Kevin Samuels, but I think it's really what he represented. And like I said, love him or hate him, I mean, he was trending on Twitter like all day in the United States when that whole thing happened. I mean, he had, you know, over 2 million followers. I mean, he really made an impact, and he was trying to make a difference in the Black community, period.
Yeah.
Whether it was you agree or disagree.
I think he did. I think he did, and we have his work, and if we continue on this path, and that's why it's important to break down these terms.
Right.
I'm certain some people learned some stuff tonight that they didn't know. Folks, everybody in the chat room, if you learn a little bit more about the definition of a high value man than you knew before, hit the KS button. Okay, hit the KS button. If you've learned more about the definition of high value man, you kind of now understand it more. It's something you can work with. If that's the case, go ahead and hit the KS button. All right, there we go. So look, you know, this is a man page, right? And I'm trying to isolate the ladies. No, you're good. The ladies are welcome. All the KS fans are welcome. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and ease you on up out of here.
Okay.
Right, and I'm gonna let the lions come in.
Okay, absolutely.
The man page, right? We got the, you know, he man. You know, we got.
I get it. Honestly, my husband told you about you, so that now it's all coming together.
It's all coming. Okay, praise Moses. Praise. Tell your husband out there.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. It's been great having you, and I hope you all appreciate that. So we're gonna let the fellas in here for a minute. We got a few guys here. Hit the KS button, and I hope we're learning. You know, we can't keep dwelling on the negativity. We can't do that. The negativity is going to be there. The man is always going to have haters. You know, he's always going to have people that don't like him because he hurt their feelings, right? And they were not able to separate the meat from the bone. So they're not going to be able to get that meal. Okay, but that's okay. We can still get this together. So we got two of my old school guys, Wrench Turner, Project 8020. And then we got some new, we got MC Recovery, my homeboy. We got Jason, welcome Jason. And we also have Cecil John. So what I want you to do, guys, what we want to do is we want to focus on this terminology, high value men. Okay. I've broken it down here. And I want to analyze this. This is what's important. And this is what we're going to do here. This is what we're going to focus on. I know there's a lot of emotions and people are still angry and some of y'all are mad at the haters and everything. But the bottom line, let's just try to focus on this. So Wrench Turner, you're first up. Hit the number 1 button for the guys. Welcome back, guys. Wrench Turner, what are your thoughts? Did you pick up something new about this terminology that maybe you didn't? And this is this a good academic way to begin to break it down so to begin to stick in people's heads? What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, sir. First of all, how's it going, brother? As always, appreciate everything.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it's a very good way when you put it in black and white like that. It really simplifies it and really makes it plain, right? Really makes it clear. You asked a question earlier when you asked, what do you think most people, what is the problem that they have with that high value, with those bullet points?
Right.
I would say from experience, I think that a lot of times when you come from environments like a lot of us come from, and you put in all of that work to get to that point, you're not in the hood no more for the most part. You know, you have a different circle of friends, you live in different areas, and sometimes you can be looked at as someone who switched up, or you can be looked at as someone who's not down no more, right? So a lot of times people will get to they will come to a point of jealousy, or they may not like you, right? And I think that's where the disconnect happens when you have somebody who makes it to that high value, makes it to a position where they're high value, or even a Blue Henry in some cases, and people no longer have access to you like they did before, and they don't really understand all of the work that you put in to get to those points. So I think that's where a lot of the hate and the vitriol comes from.
Okay. Thank you so much, Wrench Turner. Let's do a quick round real quick. So I want to get everybody a chance to speak, and then we'll kind of open it up and just flow through it. Alvin Holden, how you doing, brother? How you doing, brother? Alvin, you had the record, man. Like you had you and the divester, she hated you, and they had like 40,000 views. Now, you 4 or 5 down the list, man. Kevin Samuels is, the divestors, they come for you like that. But really anyway, that's in the past. We got all these visitors now on the page, so let's play nice. So let's focus on this term, high value man. Why is it that people they want to eliminate that $10,000 a month part? That is really a sticking point. Oh, you just because you have money doesn't mean you're a high value man. We get that, but it is a necessary component, isn't it? Right? Well, you got everything else, but what? You don't have that component. It's important. So what are your thoughts on this? If we can just go point by point, and I don't know if you guys have it but I'll bring this up again. Go ahead, brother.
I remember them. I think people intentionally leave them out because they know they can't measure up to those. And to be completely honest, the $10,000 one is the only one that you can really pin down. But I don't even. Most people haven't even gone. They haven't even. Thank you for doing this, by the way, because most people haven't even. Kevin said it a million times, but people still pretend like they don't know what it is. And, I had a conversation just the other day, and I said, look, powerful men give other people jobs. Like, if you're kind of nobody, you don't go to work, whatever, you go to work. But when powerful men don't go to work, tens of hundreds, thousands of people don't work. And I think that that's part of, this whole thing. It's not just the money. It's, once again, do other men find you valuable? And I think that's probably one of the biggest parts that I think people they
so use. Other men find you value, and I think that was the being useful to the group. They find you valuable because you feed. Okay, so the young lady, she talked about we talked about the LinkedIn level, and explain how you see that particular concept. Like, explain how you wrap your mind around that being useful to the group. I gave a couple of analogies, but what are your thoughts? Maybe you have a story or something you can share, a brief story, and then we're going to go to Cecil, John, and then Jason, and then MC Recovery.
I had the privilege of witnessing a really important deal with some really powerful men, some clients and friends of mine. And we played a round of golf. We sat down at a table for lunch. Some people handed out some papers and some things. A couple questions got asked. A couple of statements were made. They picked up the paper. He said, "I'm in," and then bring the lunch.
Right.
And that was it was a substantial deal. And the reality is this, that they trusted each other. They were like, hey, if my boy is bringing the deal to me, then I know the deal is solid. Okay. I'm not even going to ask any questions. That's how business gets done. So I'm sitting here thinking, wait a minute, did I just see a $10-20 million deal just get done? Like before lunch? But that's how it is. They didn't check. It was since you're at the table, you're at the table. We deem you valuable because of what you are and who you are, what you do. So, you know, when one of the gentlemen comes and they have a deal for the group, sit down, hey, I got a deal. Okay, cool. Count me in, sign me up. And that's the part that I think that as a culture we're missing, personally.
So, but no, that's great, you know, because in other cultures, oftentimes it's not. I said this earlier, and I've traveled. It's not about the me; it's about the we. It's not about the I; it's about the us. It's about what can you do for the group. It's only here in the United States that you know is me culture, as opposed to what's good for the group. There was a story about a little African boy who had gotten to school, and this is recent, and I heard it on the internet somewhere, and he didn't have enough money to pay for his tuition. We're talking about like a dime a month, something real small. But either way, the group got together. Somebody sold this and sold that, milk, meat, goat, whatever. They got the money necessary, and they made sure he was okay, because the group looks out for the individual over in many other sustained cultures, whereas here it's all about the individual. And so this is something that's very important. So when I look at Kevin Samuels' work, there are some anthropological aspects in it that are often overlooked because people don't dig deep into it enough. And one of that the group, you know. But let's go ahead and go to Cecil John. Thank you so much, Alvin. Let's go ahead and go to Cecil John Howell. So we're talking about the terminology high value man, and we've broken it down into these different seven subparts. I gave an assessment. Which one sticks out to you the most, Mr. Howell?
Good evening, everyone. Yes, excuse me. Jim, I thought it just walked in.
It's all good. I get it. Yeah, man.
Nice.
All right.
Yes, so first of all, it's good to meet you. And I have a lot of respect for what you're doing for your friend. It's deep, and that's what needs to be done. That's how we need to regard each other.
Yes, sir.
As it pertains to, and I just found out about you, by the way, so I'm going to be tuning in on a regular basis now.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir, very much. So
getting back to these terms, you know, to be honest with you, the one major problem that I have with the list in general, and I'm a very big fan and supporter of Kevin. I believe that he is the Malcolm X and the Martin Luther King of our generation. Without a doubt, if his message was completely revolutionary, in an ordinary and normal way. But the biggest issue that I have with this list of criteria is that there is no element that leads and describes the character and integrity of a man as a key component to a man being of high value. You know, case in point, if you look at any of our prophets, you know, the prophet Moses.
Let me cut you off because I want to get back to that. Now, you say that these characteristics don't indicate character, like there's no character indication. Okay, so here's the problem that I have with that. Okay. This one right here says you have to be accepted by the group.
Okay.
So you can have a lot of money, you can be useful, you can be LinkedIn, but if the group doesn't accept you, what does that say about you? Right, so these human beings are making a character assessment of you, because there are a lot of rich people, there are a lot of lawyers who are successful I refuse to work with because I don't like them for whatever reason. Maybe they're unscrupulous, and so they're not accepted by the group. And here's another one. You don't get to determine whether or not you're a high value man. Other people do. So those right there show me that there's a character assessment. Here's another thing. You don't get to the point where you have a network of high value men when you have low or poor character. You don't become useful to the group. People who have low moral character aren't going to be useful to the group. They're narcissists, they're selfish and whatever. And here's another thing. It takes time to get to the point where you can make $10,000 a month. And typically you're going to be making it dealing with other people. You see? So there's, and then 3 to 5, you got stick to itness. It's easy to make $10,000 a month, 1 month. But when you're able to do it for 3 to 5 years, 10 years, it shows a lot about your intestinal fortitude. So yeah, it's not written, but it's implied, because you wouldn't be able to accomplish these things if you had low character. What is your response to that assessment, Howell?
Okay,
Mr.
well,
Howell?
my response is that it's not something, having character is not something that should be implied. It should be stated outright. And on the other hand, what I was saying before is that, the prophet Moses, Abraham, Jesus, none of the men that many of us model our lives after would be on this list. And so according to this list,
you're right. I agree.
So that's why I do believe that there must be. What's that?
But Solomon would be, if you want to go for a biblical reference.
Well, okay, but then Jesus, peace be upon him, would not be.
Yeah, but Solomon would be. So if you
Right.
There's different characters you can choose from. You don't have to be. We're not talking about poverty. We're talking about the definition of a high value man. So even by your own terms, if you want to just look in the Bible, if that's the choice you choose, great. Solomon would be, and so would Muhammad. Peace be upon him. Right.
Right. Well,
okay. So there we go.
Okay. So.
But I want to go ahead and wrap up, and I want to go to Jason and then MC Recovery. I want to get everybody a first round.
No problem.
And then we can kind of mix it up a little bit. So
okay. And so the final, so going to this 10K mark. So my background is global. So when I look at numbers on a global level. Mm-hmm. And so this 10K mark is not a global number, because if you're right. Okay. This is just for the West then.
No, well, Kevin Samuels lived here. I'm sure he based this on the United States.
Right.
I'm sure if you go places like Dubai, we got all these multimillionaires around there. 10K a month might be what the camel herder makes. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, it's definitely germane. It's definitely local to the United States. But the bottom line is, we get the point.
Well, can you be a high value man and not be present with your family? Can you be a high value man and have your kids in the streets? I mean, you can meet all these criteria, but still not be present as a father and a husband. Okay, well, that goes to fatherhood. We're talking about a high value man. We didn't say a high value father. Matter of fact, he specifically says right here, $10,000 per month for a single man. And I pointed out earlier, if you want to live an upper middle class to rich lifestyle, you want to, if that's your category, and 64% of black men in the United States have reached the middle class or upper middle class, or they're rich. So that's the facts. That's on blackdemographics.com. I've talked about it on this show. Kevin's talked about it on his show. But the bottom line is, we're talking about $10,000 a month for single men. We're not talking about fatherhood and how much it costs, but high value men. Let's not, so we don't want to start mixing up the term phraseology. We don't, this is Kevin Samuels stuff and we're analyzing it. Say again. But from what I understand, Kevin's primary goal was to create families, right?
Yeah.
And so if we're creating families, then high value man is a man who sustains a family.
Yes, who has a capability of sustaining a family, and this is the criteria that he pointed out.
I've spent most of my career dealing with high value men, and a lot of these men are wealthy.
Would you be, based on this, would you be categorized as a high value man?
2 years ago, I would have been.
So the answer is no.
Well, based upon this definition, no. And
okay, so based upon Kevin Samuels' definition, you would not be considered a high value man. Do you think maybe, and we talked about this early, maybe that's why you take umbrage with this definition, because you don't?
Not at all.
Well, let me finish.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Is it because you don't fall within the definitions of a high value man? Do you think maybe you're biased because of that reason?
No, and the answer is no, and the reason why is that I've made a conscious decision to do this, to be more present. And that's why, is because I've seen many high value men, and they're out there making money, but they're not present with their families. And if you're a high value man, but you can't guide your children and you're not present in the lives of your children or your family because you're out there making money, then you can't really build legacy because your children will go off the rails.
But I disagree because I make well more than this and I'm very active in my children's life. So maybe what you should do is determine what your business model was. Maybe you need to do some more designating and having other people do your work. That's another concept maybe we'll talk about another time. So, but let's go on to the next person. We want to go to Jason. Yes, sir. Thank you. And thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it. All the Kevin Samuels folks, y'all got a home here until you find somewhere else to go. I'm sure we're going to run you off at some point.
Yeah, right? Reach out to you on LinkedIn. So we'll meet over there.
Thank you so much. All right. So Jason, you've been patiently waiting. Welcome to the broadcast. We're talking about the terminology, high value men. I have it broken down into 7 points. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you actually stated them quite clearly because I know I ain't exactly the demographic that Kevin was marketing to, but I did actually watch him.
I disagree. He was worldwide at a certain point, but go ahead, man.
Yeah, because that's exactly what I was about to say. Some of his messages about being like his message is universal, basically to all men. He didn't just speak to the Black community. But I know you were speaking about the first point about $10,000 a month.
Yes, sir.
That doesn't particularly indicate. Well, it does indicate character because it means consistency and reliability. That's what I took away from what he spoke about.
Okay. All right. So that was. So why do you think a lot of people they stick on that? I mean, that is like, because you know what it is, Jason. I don't think they can finesse that one. Either you got it or you don't. You see what I mean?
I did. From what Kevin spoke about is that when you go on Instagram and all this social media, you see all the glitz and glamour. That's probably why people get stuck on that $10,000 a month because they're not looking for consistency. They're looking for a lifestyle.
Okay, yeah.
Because that's all you see on there.
No, go ahead, please. Go ahead, sir. Please finish your thought.
That's basically what it is. They basically see social media and they think that's reality, when it's really not.
So they're falling for an illusion of what they think rich looks like, I guess, or success looks like. Yeah, I could see that. There are a lot of young women who are self-deleting because they think other women are living better than them. It's unfortunate, but I want to this you brought, and let's dwell on that a little bit more. Either you got it or you don't with high value with $10,000 a month. You can finesse. I've been working for 3 to 5 years. Other men see you as high. You can finesse, but the numbers don't lie. And so, yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, because Kevin did speak about that as well. He said because anyone could have a good year. That's why he specifically said 3 to 5 years to show consistency. Anyone can win the lottery. That's why he didn't include entertainers, artists, and like lottery winners in high value men.
Why do you think he thought that was important?
To not include entertainers and athletes like in there? He didn't. Sir. Because some of them, aren't exactly, like the best moral character. But who was that? That was one football player that didn't treat dogs very well in the past. Like I'm not going to say what he did, but
right. But let's analyze it from because I gave a summary of what I thought, and I want to share this page with you because I want everybody to understand what do these 7 characteristics have in common. What I found with all of these traits is that Kevin was pointing out high value men. These are people who are reliable for a long period of time. Somebody who has sustainable amount of income for a long period of time. These type of men are desirable because they're stable for a long period of time and they have a high level of earning capacity, which allows women to be able to go ahead and have families and live free from stress associated with poverty. An entertainer, his money may come and go. A rapper, a football player, it might not make it. You never know. You see? So this is why Kevin excluded them because, yeah, there are some great entertainers, but over time, right? Over time, they might not be able to do what an accountant or an engineer or a lawyer or a doctor or a CEO or somebody can do, and that is maintain a family at the same level over a long period of time. How many football players and basketball players do we know and we heard of that go broke 3-4 years after they stop playing? Either the child support gets them or the contract is up. We see it happening all the time. And I think that was the genius of Kevin Samuel and why he eliminated that. Is that about, what do you think about that, Jason?
I would agree with that, but another way he stated it is that he looked across high value or desirable men across all time frames, and like what characteristics did they have all in common. That's how he came up with his list.
That's a great point. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So we're going to go to MC Recovery real quick, and then we're going to let you guys open it up and talk whatever's on your mind, and that's how we'll do that. MC Recovery, I got your email today, so you found a candidate for me to give a scholarship to, right?
Right.
Okay. So guys, if you don't know what's going on, MC Recovery is one of my OG homeboys, right, that I met on the internet, but he happens to be from Los Angeles, California. He's still in Los Angeles. So I promised to give a scholarship to a young man who either going to college, he's played some athletics, so he's got good grades. I'm not demanding straight A's, because I know how it is growing up. So send me that information. Send me his information. We'll talk. I'll send you my information, and we'll get that scholarship out to him. So he's set to go in August, correct?
Well, either August or either before that, because he got HBUs looking at him now.
Okay. Well, let's talk about it a little bit more, but you got me a candidate, so I appreciate that. I'm glad you chimed in on that particular subject. What I want to do is I want to run back up to Alvin real quick, and I want to, so we good, MC Recovery. We got that out the way. But yeah, you always want to give back, folks. When you want to try to give back, especially to other people who are, less able. If you can help another guy up, what you guys see me doing in defending Mr. Samuels is what a brother should do. That's what you should do for your friend, and your friend shouldn't have to ask you for help, and if you have it to do, I would, my man Cecil, he had a problem with the thing. I think we should include generosity in high value men, but this is not my definition. This is Kevin Samuel's definition, and it's our job to analyze that. And I'm sure he'd have something to say about it, but he's not here, so we have to leave it where it is. This is what he said it was. If you want to create the Cecil Howell definition of, then you got to do that. And if I want to create the Uncle D definition, I'll do that. But bottom line, this is just something I enjoy doing. But anyway, the floor is open. You guys, man, what's on your mind? Alvin, what are your thoughts, man? I mean, it's been a rough couple of weeks. What do you think, man?
I just wish we could get past the semantics right now.
Hey, Alvin, your volume is a bit low.
Yeah,
I feel like we're playing a lot of semantics, and and it's keeping us in this holding pattern, and it's kind of agitating because what we just discussed a second ago is not difficult, right? Like, it's like, obviously there's the money part, and people always conveniently leave out the parts that that we're highlighting this evening. And it's like, look, it doesn't have to be to the dollar, right? You have to make exactly $10,000. No, I mean, it just means that you need to make enough money so it's substantial. So you ain't got to go to work tomorrow. Like, that's what that means. Like, the fact that everyone is harping so hard on the exact number, like it just has to be that, is silly. It's stupid. It's more about, hey, make yourself valuable, be consistent, find some friends that you can support that can support you, and then that's how communities start. I think at the end of the day, that's what Kevin was really trying to do. He was saying, like, that's the blueprint for how communities start. Now,
well, I think I'm gonna push back. He had his definition for high value man.
Yes,
he had his definition for other things. So let's just not confuse the audience, and let's just treat this in a really academic way, because we want people. We don't want to confuse folks. These are the 7 points that he had. We talked about them. We talked about them thoroughly. This was Kevin Samuel's definition. So let's leave it at that. We'll put this back up. We don't want to expand on it, because I ain't him, you ain't him, and this is what's left. So let's figure this out, why he did that,
for sure.
And maybe it's included in there. but he gave a definite amount, $10,000. He probably had a reason for it, probably tax purposes. Because if you get $9,000 a month, then you might not make that. You might have $68,000 in disposable income. So you don't have twice as much money as the guys who are in middle class. I don't know, but go ahead, and then we'll go to.
No, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, again, it's just obviously it's $10,000 and it's $10,000 for a reason. But once again, it's like everyone's getting caught up on just the number. It's like, and it's like there's so much more that's the least important part. Or at least that's the easiest part, right? Like that's like I can look at a statement and see that, but all these other things that I can't control, that I have to depend on other people to see the value in me,
right?
For me to have the value. That's all I was saying.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Cool, good point. Wrench Turner, man, what else would you like to add? I mean, we're talking about just generally talking. So whatever you want to talk, let it off. Let's hear it.
Yes, sir. What I initially got from Kevin's bullet points regarding high value men, I think that a big part of one of the really important components is being useful to the group or being of utility. And what I think he meant is, and I've learned it throughout my career, is, it's not important, or you're really not doing anything special for you to accomplish all these different goals, beat your chest, and you look behind and you haven't brought anyone else along. So I think when you're talking about family and when you're talking about the community, then obviously the goal is, if you're someone who's in a position to make things happen, the ultimate goal is to reach back and then bring other brothers along and give those brothers the game, so to speak, to allow them to get to that hit squad, or to get those guys to be Henrys, or, even get them to that high value, them to that high value level.
I mean, that's an excellent point, because basically I'm sitting here looking at it, being useful to the group is giving back. You see what I mean? So yeah, great. I mean, I guess the young person wouldn't be in the group. I don't know. I mean, but whatever, I guess being useful to the group is giving back, generally speaking. So yeah, great point. So that would include generosity. So this is why this is important, because I'm learning too. You see what I mean? I don't do relationships. I do a lot of stuff.
Can I add something to that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Jason. What do you got?
Yeah, because Kevin always spoke about life is about people, so that's partially why I think the never component is actually the most important of all.
Good point. That he sure did say that. He would say it's not about he said it's not about the money, it's about the people. I've heard him say that a couple of times. Excellent point. Wrench Turner or Cecil, would you have anything else you want to add in here?
Yeah, the other piece, kind of hitting on what the brother Cecil was talking about.
Cecil.
I'm sorry, Cecil. My apologies, brother.
My apologies, sir.
The other piece is, just like you said, Uncle D, in order to really take an interest in other individuals and grow them to the point to where they're able in turn to do the same thing and be a resource or be of utility to the group, there's a couple things that have to happen, right? You have to have a vested interest in helping people. And also you have to teach the ones that are coming along, or actually pick out the right ones that are coming along, to have that exact same spirit about them, right? Because you don't want those learnings to stop with that next wave of men that are coming behind you. So there's a lot of character traits that he didn't necessarily go in the weeds outside of that DIME acronym that he used. There are a lot of character traits that you have to have, even just to check a lot of the boxes that he have on that list. So I think sometimes that may get lost in the sauce. And as he said, he can't necessarily get that deep in the weeds when you start explaining. He couldn't get that deep in the weeds when you start explaining, or when you start talking about those bullet points. But as we all know, there are definitely certain personality traits. There are certain disposition you have to have. Of course, you have to be confident. You have to be intelligent. You have to be assertive. All of these acronyms and all of this information that he gave us in such a short amount of time, those are really a lot of the character traits that you have to have in order to be considered a high value man, or in order to get to a Henry status. Because if you don't possess those particular personality traits or skills or disposition, then in my humble opinion, I don't think that you would actually be considered a high value man by his definition. So you're not a high value man if you earn the money and you kind of push everybody else down. At the end of the day, you got to be useful to the group.
Wow, good point.
Yeah,
good point. Okay, I like that. Who else wants to jump in there? Go ahead.
Well, I want to jump in there, but on a minute level, it's like I grew up with a stepfather. You know, shit, he's still living. He's 92, and what made Kevin Samuel make a lot example made sense to me because I always knew people that had small businesses and appliance stores, and you know, I am that youngster that, you know, dad is sending on the bus to go and pick up refrigerator parts at P&S and stuff like this, and then, you know, and I will always see that all his friends had some sort of business, an auto shop, a laundromat or something. And then I slowly saw that stuff be removed or changed. So that being a utility and useful for others, what I see now is what Dennis mentioned earlier. I see people will make it to high status, and mind you, I work at headquarters.
Right.
I just don't see them being useful to the community. Maybe on the back end, they more helping out their
I think it's more so the group, like high value. You're useful to your high value group. You know, like that's why you're in the group. But let's go back. I want to give Mr. Howell, and he hadn't spoken in a while. Mr. Howell, what would you like to add to this, sir? Mr. Howell?
You know, given the context of what Wrench, yes. Okay, no, I said given the context of what Wrench Turner said, and that if you're just staring at the criteria, but not looking at the path to determine and develop that criteria, then you miss a lot of the details. And I think that kind of covers a lot of the basis that I felt was missing in that character aspect. Okay. So well, I think we're good, and I do agree. Yeah, and with Alvin, I would tend to agree as a if you use this as a guideline, you know, I'm sure that for Kevin it was black and white, no deviation. But I think for the average man, if you use this as a guideline and something to aspire to, and you can find yourself within the bandwidth of being a high value man, then you're a high value man.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. We want to keep this
about sticking to it.
We want to keep this at a fun length at 2 hours. We don't want to go into 2.5 and 3 hours. But man, this has been great. If you guys appreciate, hit the KS button. Go ahead and hit KS. We're doing this in the memory. We're learning, you know, because there are a lot of people who only recently discovered Kevin Samuel's work maybe a year ago. Clearly, this man spent a lifetime developing this thought pattern. You don't just come up with this. He literally came up with a book of rules, a book of laws, and that's why I used that analogy earlier. He gave you some rules to follow. You reach the status of high value man when you, number one, you make $10,000 or more per month as a single man. Number two, you've been doing it for 3 to 5 years. Number three, you have a network of other high value men. Number four, you're useful to others in the group. Number five, you're of LinkedIn level. Number six, you're accepted by the group. And number seven, you don't get to determine your high value status. Other people do. Kevin came up with this. He didn't clearly come up with this overnight. We've learned so much about his character from his friend Jeff. We've learned so much about his character from his work and what he was doing to the future. He clearly thought this out, and this needs analysis. If we're going to go ahead and take this stuff with us, let's go ahead and learn about it now while it's hot. Let's use this as an opportunity to really say, I understand. So when we enter in these conversations, these people say, oh, I don't like what he said. Ask, did you actually hear what he said? Do you know the term high value man has 7 requirements? And you know the money requirement is only 1. Have you analyzed it? That's what we have to do. You can't, earlier somebody came in and said, hey, how do I fight with these people who are saying these bad things about Kevin Samuels? How do I fight with? You don't. You simply respond with logic and reason as Kevin would. And if they don't respond, you continue on responding with logic and reason, because you know and they don't know, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you continue and you learn for yourself. If you liked his work, if you felt it was helpful to you, this is the way we continue forward. This is my opinion. But anyway, I want to thank MC Recovery. I want to thank Alvin. I want to thank Wrench Turner, Jason. I want to thank Mr. Cecil, who came in earlier. I think this has been a good show. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to go ahead and do a little close out here. Let's wave bye, guys. Let's be friendly. Remember, we got to be friendly now. We can't be like we used to be. We can't do that anymore. But thanks, guys. We got guests now. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'll let you guys hang out in the corner over there. Hold on. We'll let y'all hang out in the corner for a minute. So here's what we've done today, folks. We've talked about high value men, the definition of high value men. This is Kevin's work. So make sure while I'm talking about Kevin's work, you hit the KS button, because we want him to get his credit. Most people that say they don't like Kevin Samuels' work, they haven't even analyzed it. They don't even know. They just know in their mind, a high value man makes $10,000 a month. And they're like, I don't care about that. Or they'll say, well, I make $10,000 a month. I get it. You make $10,000 a month, but that's on stolen Social Security checks, sir. So you're not actually a high value man, sir. Okay, you over there in front of the damn Piggly Wiggly, begging people for their food stamps check. You're not a high value man, sir. You don't fall within the category, or you haven't been doing it long enough, or you're an athlete or whatever. So he gave us this breakdown. You're not on LinkedIn level. Nobody chose you. You're not part of the group. You don't do it, and you don't have a network of men like you. I gave some examples, but the bottom line, now it's on you guys to analyze this. All right. If this is what so that's why Kevin was not like any other person that I've seen on YouTube. He gave this a real deep. There's a lot of dating coaches out there. There's a lot of gurus, and I'm not one. I'm a lawyer. I enjoy practicing law, and I'm treating this like it's a law book. All right. And so I'm treating this like this is a rule of law. In order to get the point of high value man status, you have to reach these 7 criteria. Let's begin to analyze it like this. Don't worry about the haters. The lawsuits and the cease and desist letters will take care of the haters. I want you guys to continue to learn. That's the thing that I want. I think that's the best way that's the best way we push Kevin's legacy forward, in my opinion. So either way, you guys, I appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you guys so much. And for those of you guys who didn't hear, Joe Brown gave a wonderful testimony. You can go back to the beginning. All you guys seeing this on the rebroadcast. Other than that, man, this is Uncle D. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate your patience. We'll try to do this every night for a little while until y'all feel a little better, right? And then I'm going to go back to what I like to do, right? But either way, man, this is Uncle D, man, Dennis Sperling, and I'm out.